haven't been able to roll my shoulders like that in 10 years.
Hey, welcome back to Fairly Odd Co-Parents. I'm Nessa, and this is my co-host,
Ronnie.
Nice.
So I'll give myself some
love over there. Yeah,
some extra love and praise.
It's fine. It's cool. All right. So, welcome back, guys. Thank you for tuning in episode 9. And so
Yes.
Yeah. And so today, we have finished our modules episode, and so we're really excited that we wrapped that up. And so today we're actually going to continue talking about like our everyday lives, our everyday opportunities, and our ongoing opportunity is relationships, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, we get to have our mom riddle.
Yes, mom riddle. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
All
proceed.
Right, so you ready?
Yes. I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
I'm ready.
Right, here we go. All right, so the riddle is, there's 30 cows, 28 chickens. How many didn't?
There's 30 cows, 28 chickens. How many didn't?
Yes, sir.
"30 cows, 28 chickens. How many didn't?" 0.
No?
Is that
Final answer?
Nope. You can give me a yes or a no?
No.
Am I wrong?
Is that your final answer?
Yes. What's
No.
what do we?
There's
Give me
30,
what is it?
There's 30 cows.
What is this? How is this? Is this the way you tell riddles?
Hold it together over there. Hold it.
What?
It's okay, calm.
You give a riddle and then I'm like, give you an answer, and you're just like, is that it? Like, I don't know. Is it it?
No, I was asking, like, is that your answer? Like, are you guessing still? Like, okay. So there's 30 cows, 28 chickens. How many didn't?
Damn.
8 didn't eat chickens. No.
No. 10 didn't eat chickens. 30 cows, 20 of them ate chickens.
You're right.
How many
10,
didn't?
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
10.
Answer isn't 0. I know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't ask me to math, okay? I'm on math mom, or mom math, whatever. So, anywho, let's get into our parent story of the week. And so, do you want to tell about our Disney trip coming up?
Yeah, so I thought the co-parent story of the week this week would be a good opportunity to kind of share our Disney trip that we have planned coming up in a few weeks. Yeah, it's coming up in a few weeks and it's super exciting. And really, I just wanted to discuss kind of how we've gone about working together on it. Because initially this was a request last summer from our oldest son, Armani. And the way this came about was we were sitting on the couch watching something on Disney Plus together. And I don't remember what it was. And there was an advertisement for Disney World. And we watched the advertisement, the commercial. And then Armani just casually turns to me and is like, "Hey, Dad, can we go to Disney World?" And like, I had to take a second in my own brain to like process, like, can we go to Disney World? Like, my mind was like, dude, no. Like, but I took a moment to kind of really think about like, can we go to Disney World? And for me, it was just like, yeah, like, let's figure out how to go to Disney World next summer.
Right.
And that's where it came from. I said yes, and he was like completely shook. He was like, "What? Like, are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, I promise you, we will go to Disney World next summer." And here
Mm-hmm.
we are. It's a couple weeks away. So from that stemmed it growing to just us, to you guys joining us, um,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it grew to that. But I really wanted to talk about how we've come together and are making this incredible event happening for our kids. Um,
Yeah.
and it's more about the cooperation. We've
Mm-hmm.
come together to decide how's the travel going to work,
Mm-hmm.
who's paying for airline tickets to where,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Where are we
we
gonna stay? Where are we
where are
gonna
we
stay?
staying, right?
Mm-hmm.
We came to an agreement with that. On
Yeah.
We came to an agreement with tickets because I get
Yeah.
some military discounted tickets. So there's a certain amount that I can purchase,
Lucky.
and yeah, so like we formulated a plan. We came together to make this happen in the best way possible that we could with our with what we have available for each of us and how we can make it work together, as opposed to like. And honestly, I am honestly surprised that we have not like really argued or like fought or like about any of the particulars, like any of the details. We've really been pretty united on making this happen.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been super exciting and super, uh, I don't know, I have like anticipation. I'm excited for it. But
Mm-hmm.
really, it's just been kind of, we've had, there's been days where it's like, hey, we need to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And we take the time to figure it out. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
one of us is like more on top of it with this thing, and we ping the other, right?
Yeah.
And we like
We came
are
together
in.
as a team.
Yes.
Yeah, to do our research because I'm really good at finding deals and looking at different like offerings that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Junior's really good at like analyzing things and looking at like which park would be best to go to on which day and
Yeah, so
so
that was something
yes.
that I came up with what our schedule is for each park, and that went
Mm-hmm.
into like what days are the best parks to go to, like.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely took advantage of our strengths.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, continue. I totally cut you
Yeah,
off.
no, it was it I agree. Like there are things that you're good at and that I'm good at and so and you even asked me like, "Hey, can you look into this cuz I don't really know where to look or how to find it or whatever." And then there were exact vice versa, right? Like I was like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
can you do this part because I either didn't have the time or was like, I actually don't really know how to navigate my way through that." So yeah, so we have our airlines purchased, our Airbnb done, we have our transportation all set up. We have our tickets and which park we're going to go to, and our meals, and we have our budget. And so kids are all
Oh,
excited to come
I want to float something by you.
right now. Okay,
Yeah, let's
go
do
for
it
it.
live. I want to float
Yeah.
something by you.
Okay. Okay. What's up?
We'll see how it turns out. So I was kind of looking at some like tips, Disney World tips. Something that
Mm-hmm.
has been brought up is that for the kids, if you set
Mm-hmm.
them a dollar amount for the trip that they get to spend, like,
Yeah.
hey, you get this amount of money for this, 5 day span.
Yeah.
So where it's like, hey, you get $100 each,
Mm-hmm.
like, and they get to spend it, how they
150.
want.
Yeah. Yeah.
150, whatever. I mean, and I'm talking about like 100 for me, 100 from you. So it would be like 200 total per kid.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then that
Yeah.
way it's like, okay, I know that I'm only spending $100 this week. on each of them, which is 200 total, right? And it'd be the same thing for you
for the for the
for
boys. I
specifically buying shit for the boys. You know what I mean?
well for the boys, but I I have my bonus children, so
Right. Well,
I
that I
get
mean, I
to
don't.
I get to do that with Eduardo too. I can't do that for
Yes.
one and not the other.
Right. And that's not what I'm. I mean, obviously, you have a different set of things. That's why we're talking about it now. But ultimately, it for me, it kind of saves money. It also sets a boundary. It sets a price. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is all you get. And like, I
Yeah.
know, cool, this is $200 out of my budget. And like,
Mm-hmm.
$200, I know it's set to them. I know I
Mm-hmm.
have this much amount of money left that I'm not going to be using on spending on
Mm-hmm.
merchandise. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
No,
how do you feel about
I
that?
yeah, no, I love that idea. That was actually something that I've already been talking to the boys about because they have figured out ways to earn money. And so every time, specifically Armani is always like, Mom, can I go to the store and like get something? And recently I have said no. And I've told him, I actually want you to start saving your money for Disney.
Yeah.
And so what I haven't told them is, that I was planning on giving each of them a set amount of spending money so
Yeah.
they can, go and do stuff. But I was also going to say, um, they don't get to just like spend $1,000, like, that kind of thing.
Right.
Like,
Just keep spending.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, like just keep spending. So, but no, I like your idea like way better because what I was coming up with was something like, they each get like one or two cool souvenirs from our trip. And so now they can decide how many. It's just this is
Yeah.
the amount you get, so you can figure out
Right.
what you want and what you don't want. And so, or how you're going to spend it. So yeah, I love it. I think $100 from each of us will be good. I'll give 200 to the boys and 200 to Maddie Mao, and then have Eduardo match me and you match me, and yeah, great idea.
Sweet. Yeah.
Go
I think
team.
that'll be good. Yeah. High five. High five.
You
Cool.
keep missing.
Well, that I'm slapping
You
your
know,
face.
see,
I'm
I
high
know.
fiving your face.
That's what Eduardo does. So Eduardo, when he gives a high five, he's like, "It's coming in, it's coming in." And if you don't high five him back, he just like he will do he'll do that. He doesn't do it hard, but he'll be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you didn't catch it," and like the boys will let him because they think it's funny, and so they're oh no, that's
Yeah. Um, cool. Well, that's kind
okay.
of been like a little small example of kind of how we've been planning this trip.
How
Um,
we communicate in general, really.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sweet. Well, that's nice. Also, by the way, I do have a rental car that I will have for the week. Um, so that'll be helpful with any.
Have you looked into parking and all of that?
No, and I'm not saying we have to take it to park there
Oh,
or
okay.
anything like that.
Okay.
It's more, it's going to be something more helpful for me and beneficial for me. But it'll be something that we have for the week. Uh, so
Oh, you're gonna be sneaking off in the middle of the night or something?
hell yeah, I am. Like, I need to go. Pops needs a drink. You kids are something else. I'm gonna go
Oh,
hang out at the bar.
welcome,
I'm gonna go
welcome
hang
to
out at the
my
bar
life.
with Goofy.
Wait, you're gonna go by yourself? We're not invited?
No, you guys aren't. I got the
Oh,
rental.
that's nice. Okay, cool. I
I'm
see.
just
I see
kidding.
how you are. Thank you.
Anyways, all right, we are 14 minutes into nonsense.
Okay.
Um,
Anywho, so let's get into the relationships, right? All right.
yeah. Oh,
So
can I say my little piece on this?
yeah,
Okay, this episode is essentially about co-parent partners, right?
yeah.
The relationship that your co-parent partner is in and how that kind
Mm,
of affects kind of just your co-parent life. Um,
mm.
yeah. Okay. Take it away.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, so we're going to be talking about our co-parent relationship. I don't. How do you co-parent
Co-parent
partners?
partners.
Partners. There you go. Co-parent
Yeah.
partners. And so Junior and I are both in relationships. I'm married. Junior is in a serious relationship. I've been married for a little over a year now. We've been together for 4 years. And so Junior is with
Julia.
Julia.
Mm-hmm. And it's
And
been what, I guess 6 months for us, which doesn't feel like it, but
yeah, yeah. No,
yeah,
I understand. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Especially when you get into a relationship where you already know what you're looking for, you know what you're okay with, what
exactly.
you're not okay with, and you're just like, this is what's happening. And so
Right.
you're either on board or you're not. Like yeah,
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of what happened with a lot of I were. I know, like a year in, I was like, God, I feel like I've been around you for like 5 years already. No. So I'm sure that's how it is for you. So anyway, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It doesn't feel like that. It's more of the like, damn, it's been 6 months. It doesn't feel
Yeah,
like it's been 6 months. It feels like it's been
yeah,
like, I don't
yeah,
know, 3 months. Uh,
yeah.
but I think for me, I think things have just naturally. I think that's where it's been at. Like I know
Mm,
where I'm at. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I don't
right.
want, and it just things have fallen into place to to where it just works. Um, and but anyways, we wanted to kind of start off with things with um, like Eduardo, like
Yeah,
the things that we've kind of worked through and how that's looked.
yeah. So yeah, so Laura and I had met during COVID. The things that came up during that year were very, very unique to that year. And to I don't know if you know, but we kind of went through this pandemic, and definitely brought a lot of opportunities for myself as a single mom and as a teacher. And so there was a lot of things going on at play at the time. So Eduardo and I were dating. We were it was very clear that we were serious from jump. We set very very clear boundaries with each other. Sorry, Siri keeps going off on my phone. I don't know why. Um, we were very like clear with each other on like what we were going to be doing, and the things that we were going to be looking at, things like that. And so uh, we we just like went from there. And then what ended up happening after after we started dating, and when we were ready to um, introduce when I was ready to introduce the boys. It was kind of something that I don't want to say it was forced, but it was like there was a special situation happening, right? So I was going into teaching COVID, teaching or distance learning, right? And the way that my school has set up my schedule was in the morning, I would be teaching, and then in the afternoon, my kids would be in their classes. So I was able to teach, and then there would be a little bit of an overlap, and then my kids would go into their virtual classrooms. But what I needed support with was keeping them busy in a way so that I could teach. And
Mm-hmm.
my school was very, very strict on like what was permitted and what was not permitted on camera. I had a 3 year old, I had a toddler who was running around in I think he was in a pull up or maybe in like training underwear. I'm not too sure. I want to say he was already potty trained by this point. But they were boys, so they ate like every 2 hours. And I was on camera for 5 hours straight. Like I was back to back to back with my classrooms. And so to leave my 3 year old and my 6 year old alone for that long without me being able to be like, hey guys, hold on a second, and like go make them lunch or breakfast or, see whatever it is that they were needing was almost impossible. And I reached out to all kinds of sources of support, and I was working or wasn't cleared to come be around me and the children because of what they were being exposed to every day. So they were like self isolating. And then Eduardo offered to watch them, and I get anxiety just thinking about it. How I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you and I talked about it before, before it happened, and I told you like this is the situation, this is what's going on. I had absolutely no plans on him meeting the boys. I don't bring people into the boys' lives like this. For me, it was like I had told him like you're not going to meet my boys until we're together for like at least a year, and he was like, okay, and I was like, yeah, no, he's like I get to see how consistent you are, how serious you are, like, um, and so, but it ended up happening that he got to meet the boys, and they met at a pool. We were swimming. My whole family was around, and the boys warmed up to him really fast. They got to play right away. They engaged with him right away. Um, we had set a boundary of like he doesn't get to discipline them. That was something that you and I had come to an agreement with. We set a boundary of um, doesn't get to talk to them a certain way, like you're not their new dad, like I'm their dad. Like there was an entire conversation that you got to have with him too, right?
Yeah. So I what had I guess with everything that kind of was transpiring was I realized that okay, Eduardo is somebody who is going to be in the picture for a long term.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that meant that I wanted to have a conversation with him and not a conversation of like, uh, not to, for it to be from a place of um, negative or like confrontation or anything like that. For me, it was to come from a place of, hey, my kids are important to me. I don't get to be present in their life every day. The way this is going is you're going to be present in my son's lives daily. And I really wanted to emphasize the importance of that. Is that because of that, there are certain attributes, there's certain things they're going to see, there's certain examples that are going to be portrayed, all of that. There are going to be things that they are going to get from him that they won't be getting from me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told him that that is extremely important. And essentially, the conversation was like uh, going to that. My hope is that he is taking that seriously, um, because it was the truth. It's what's real. And it was that I didn't want to have any kind of bad relationship with him. I'd rather it work than not
Yeah.
work and create like this huge disturbance. And you know, but that's really what it was, is just that you're going to be a presence in their life, and I hope you're taking that seriously,
Mm.
and that you were, you know, being something, um a positive role model, and that was basically it. um
Yeah.
but it was a good conversation. Uh and then I deployed for a long period of time, and um
Yeah, you were gone for a whole year.
it was 7 months, but it
Oh,
was
really?
yeah,
I thought it was a year.
it was seven, more like 8 months. But so I mean it was close. Uh
Mm. Felt
but
like a year.
it was just a long, yeah, it was a really long time, honestly.
Yeah. I know
Um
that you missed all the holidays, so.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I missed a good amount of time. But
Yeah.
so that's essentially what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, I just felt like I needed to let him know that uh let him know that I'm not here to be in confrontation with him, and
Mm-hmm.
that at the same time, um, he is around my kids more than I'm able to, and
Yeah.
so I hope that he takes that seriously.
Hmm.
And um,
Yeah. That's a great come from.
yes,
Yeah.
and so yeah, and then after that, it's really like I have to trust that you're choosing somebody who you think is fit to be around our kids, and that you're
Mm-hmm.
choosing somebody who's going to be great for them. And like that's really all I can do is just trust that this will go well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's really it, right? And just have faith that things will work out.
Yeah.
Um,
So Eduardo and I, like I said, we were together, and it progressed into eventually moving in together, and then getting married. And moving in together created some new opportunities as well of adjusting to the way that the boys get put to sleep, and the way that we do dinner, and the way that we get up in the morning. Like these little things that people don't necessarily think about. It's not this beautiful picture that Disney and mainstream media puts out there. Like there's a lot of little things that you get to learn and navigate with each other. And so those created some new opportunities for us as well. And
do you have an
Eduardo got to.
example of any?
Yeah, so there was Eduardo didn't know that I sang to the boys every night and laid with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got to see that I put them to bed. I used to read to them every night,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something that they both were like, can we, like,
Yeah,
can
can
you
we
not?
just spend
Yeah,
like a
can
little
we?
more time doing this instead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I used to read with them every night, and that was something that Eduardo even engaged in, where he would read to them too, because they would like grab a book and they would bring it to him, and they'd be like, "Can you read to us, Eduardo?" And so they call him Waldo. They can't say Eduardo, so um, and so he used to read to them too. We used to take turns, and then it progressed to him having sleepovers at the house, at my house, and it was only because the boys had requested it. Before that, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Good night, I'll see you tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
But then the boys were like, "Can Eduardo stay over? Like, we want him to be here." And then it progressed to, when we moved in together, I would tuck them in. I still tuck them in every night. It's a ritual that we have, and they have their sound machine, and then I sing to them. And it's to the point that if I'm not here now because I'm in class, or I'm doing something else, I'm at a different commitment. Eduardo has learned the song
Mm-hmm.
so that he can hum it to them and help put them to sleep. And it's just called the song. Like there's no name to it. It's a lullaby that I made up a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's existed ever since. Even the boys even have you sing it sometimes. Is what
Mm-hmm.
I've heard. And so yeah, so that was one of the things that Eduardo was like. They just go to bed. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, wait, they don't just go to bed. Like I tuck them in and I soothe them
Mm-hmm.
to sleep. And Eduardo is a little bit of a research nerd. So when you say things like based on the research, he
Mm-hmm.
kind of was like, he'll listen. He'll be like, oh. And so, I mean, what I was doing was 100% based on research, 100% based on things that I have read that um, successfully puts children to sleep, and also supports them with restful sleep where they're not
Mm-hmm.
having as many nightmares, not getting up as much, things like that. So that was an adjustment that we got to have as well. And then, as our relationship has progressed, there's some things that have come up, navigating through each other's personalities, navigating through each other's thresholds, understanding the different dynamics has definitely been a new thing that I have never had the experience of doing. And so now, after doing this for 4 years, we've gotten into a rhythm of it. But, for a time, Eduardo and Sebastian did not get along. Sebastian was like, "You're taking my mom from me," and like he would like cuddle up and then like look at Eduardo, and Eduardo would make a joke out of it and be like, "Watching you." But then he would like text me. He's like, "I'm gonna go. They obviously want to be with you."
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd like, okay, and so he would be like, "All right, boys, I'll see y'all later," and then he would leave. And Eduardo and I chose to allow the children to decide what was okay and what was not okay for them, because they're the ones that are really dealing with like the anxiety and like the uneasiness.
Mm-hmm.
obviously I'm super comfortable with this man that I'm choosing to have a relationship, right? So the comfort level isn't necessarily from me. And Eduardo never got to the point where he stepped over his role. It was more like the boys would just let us know, like this was, like, okay, we kind of want just mom to ourselves. That hardly happened. They were like wanting Eduardo all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
there were times. But when it happened, both of us were just like, okay, let's, you go home. The boys and I are going to get to spend some time together. The way that they talk to each other, Eduardo got to adjust that you and I are both very much advocates of you speak with respect. You
Mm-hmm.
say yes sir, no sir. You say yes ma'am, no ma'am. You say please and thank you. You don't raise your voice. You don't always question what is happening. Sometimes you get to just get it done. That kind of thing. So yeah, so it has been a beautiful learning experience for us. So yeah, so that's kind of what has gone on with us. Is there anything you want to add
Yeah.
about the relationship with Eduardo?
Yeah. So what I would like to add on to that is that, um, there are definitely some differences and challenges with personalities and all of that stuff. But what what I do appreciate with Eduardo is that, um, when whenever I'm in the space of all of us being together, right? If we're doing
Mm-hmm.
something that is all together, me, you, Eduardo, the kids, his kids, all of that stuff, right? And if there's ever an issue that arises, or I feel like something is kind of like, maybe not, um, forward moving, or doesn't really resonate well with the kids, or it creates like
Mm-hmm.
a more, um, kind of just like bad energy or
Mm.
that type of thing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what I really appreciate is that I can go to Eduardo
Mm-hmm.
and like have a conversation with him, like one on one, like, hey man, like, what's going on, or I noticed this, or, um, and he is open to hearing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that is something that I really appreciate. And obviously, there's been a lot of work between the three of us,
Mm-hmm.
um, individually, that has allowed us to do that. I don't think that I don't if somebody wasn't confident in themselves, or with talking and open communication and being vulnerable and that type of thing, I don't think that goes quite well. You know, if I and say like to say like if you're Eduardo was somebody who's like not open to communication with someone about, like, he's like, hey, stay in your lane, like, I'm gonna parent my kids, or parent like the way I
Right.
do, or whatever, and I don't need you in my business. Like,
Right.
it's very feasible for that to happen, but he's done a lot of work to where he keeps open lines of communication.
Yeah.
And I think I've done enough work within myself to know that I'm not coming from a place of, hey, uh like, you're wrong or something. Like, I'm coming from
Right.
a place of like,
This is what
let
I'm noticing.
this is what I'm noticing, and like, let's improve, let's like get better, let's and
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying this out of love, and like coming from a good place,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately I want us all to win. I want us all to be the best versions of ourselves. um so I appreciate that in our kind of expanded family relationship, that I can come to Eduardo and have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah, I really love when you two have conversations as well, honestly, because there are some things that you guys understand with each other that I just can't, I can't like verbalize for some reason, or I like it just, or maybe like because it's coming from me as their mom, it might, I might be a little too personal, too biased. I don't know what it is. I just know that there are conversations that happen between you and Eduardo, and they're always so successful and they're always so productive that when you guys are like, we're gonna go talk, I'm like, bye, like have fun. You know, like I'm all for it. And we have a group chat, and we still have our group chat. I have I've thoughtfully named it BDs, and so you know we just have a good baby daddies. It's for baby daddies. It's nothing gross. It's for baby daddies.
Wow.
I just realized, yeah. So it's for
Nice.
baby daddies because y'all are both baby daddies. So but yeah, so we have our group chat and we talk often. We send. I am the schedule holder. I have been deemed the scheduler of our three schedules when it comes to the kids, when it comes to the boys.
Mhm.
And so anytime there's an event going on, I put it in the calendar and I share the invite to you two, and you guys put it on your calendar or do whatever it is that you choose to do with it. But like that's another way that we continue to maintain communication and continue working with each other. So,
Yeah, for sure.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yes, so that's essentially kind of the progression that's come with Eduardo. And
Yeah. So I know
for
that.
me, I know I've really been a lot more like, for me, in my perspective, I allow, not even allow, that's not the right word. I trust, I have faith that your relationship is your relationship and you guys will handle it the way you deem necessary for y'all, and you guys will parent in your household, and I will trust that our communication will keep us in line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really do not try to get involved in what happens in your relationship. I really,
Mm-hmm.
for me, where I come from is I really want you guys to be successful in your parenting, because you have a different dynamic than I do in your parenting, in your relationship, and your y'all's mutual growth. Like that's where I'm at. Like I want that for y'all. Um, so I really do take a backseat approach, and uh when I am available or when I am present for different dynamics that happen, then I'm like, cool, I'm here. Like I will voice whatever I feel I feel like I need to. Whether it's something that's like, man, this is freaking awesome, like this is incredible, like this was great, or hey, maybe we can look at this of like how we can improve
Yeah.
the relationship with the kids or whatever. You know what I mean? Um, and that's kind of the stance that I take.
Yeah.
And with me, we're kind of in a new place with me being in a relationship with Julia, um, where this dynamic is new. Um, it's something that the word that Armani used was, it's unusual,
Mm.
because it's different. It's not the usual.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, they've had only dad for the past 6 years,
yeah,
seven
and
seven
and that
years.
and that in itself is, we only have dad in this limited amount of time. You know,
Mm-hmm. Right.
it's so it's not even like that we have dad every day or every week. It's we have dad
Mm-hmm.
for this weekend. We
Mm-hmm.
have dad for this, you know, spring break week. We have dad for, this holiday. It's
Yeah.
not even the consistency. So it is, I know for them, it is different. It is unusual. Even for you, um, and I really don't know how Eduardo feels about it, but um,
About Julia.
just in general. Julia, just kind of new relationship, the new dynamic of it. Like it is something that's different, you know?
Yeah. So I know that like for the things that have come up for I'll speak for myself, but
Yeah.
I know like for myself there's some anxiety there. There's some nervousness. Um I have different reasons for my nervousness and anxiety, but mostly like, the boys have had their fair share of traumatic events, and so they have some anxiety over meeting new people, and because of what has happened in their past. And so I think that's where my anxiety comes up as well. It's like, I know that how far they've come, and I know how much they've healed. And Armani has even gone through therapy for his anxiety and for the fears that he had developed. And so just wanting to support them where they are at the moment,
Mhm.
and make sure that that they don't push themselves into a point where they're like, oh, I can handle this, and then they're there, and then it's like, oh, I can't actually, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to upset anybody.
Yeah.
um and so I think I know, like, for me, I'm happy that you're in a relationship, in a healthy relationship. I'm happy that there's consistency there. You seem to be like happy where you guys are going. I don't really know a whole lot about Julia. I just know, like, little things here and there that you've shared.
Hmm.
So for me, like, getting to know her is something that I would, really love to happen. I'd really just like know who this person is that's gonna potentially be around our boys.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think those are the only things that really come up for me. It's like I said, the only negative, if you want to call them that, emotions that might come up is just some anxiety, some nervousness. But mostly it's more like curiosity and like excitement, and like what is this new person going to add to our dynamic? Because like you said, we only want the people who are coming in to be an addition to what's already great. And so
Right.
I'm curious to see, like, what is that going to look like. um, Junior and I have agreed that I get to meet her first, and her and I will get to have a conversation as well, just like Junior and Eduardo got to have a conversation. Because when they have their conversations, it's private, and I don't get to influence. I don't get to know what is said either. I don't get to dictate what's going on. Like, those are two grown adults who are invested in our children and get to have those independent conversations. And
Hmm.
so Junior and I have agreed that Julie and I will get to have that same opportunity, right?
Right. If Julia, and that's the thing too, Julia gets to choose into that also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, um, and I want to stress the importance of that also, right? Like this, she has a choice in all of this too.
Mm-hmm.
The great thing with Julia is that she's been very, um, me and her have spoken about, you know, about like all of this really. And so she also gets the freedom to say, "Hey, I'm ready for this conversation," or "Hey, maybe I'm not ready for this conversation." But she's also very. She's had a lot of just kind of grace and just when things happen when they're meant to happen they will, and there's no pressure, there's no. It's just it feels good to know that I don't have somebody else trying to drive an agenda or someone else trying to drive something that's more about themselves. You know what I mean? It
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is it is merely about, hey, when you're ready, when the boys think they're ready, like
Mm-hmm.
when things are ready to step forward, like that's when we'll do it. And
Mm-hmm.
like it has been the she has made the boys my priority. Um, Obviously, the boys are my own priority, but she has made it to where it's a hey, whatever you need to do for the boys, like they're your priority. So like I understand. Um,
Oh, so wait, I think the way you could say
it
that
sounded
is,
weird
yeah. So
the
I
way I
think
said that.
the way you could say that is she has respected the boundary that you have set of the boys are my priority, and
Yes,
she encourages that.
yes,
Okay.
she totally understands. She totally supports. Um, and um, she also knows that I am a person who where I where I put my time is extremely valuable to me. Um, so I will make the time for her also. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it just will look a little different, right?
Right.
My boys come first, and so she
Mm-hmm.
completely supports it, and she is
Yeah.
completely graceful with it, and um,
Yeah.
it's been for me, um, it's been very rewarding and very it feels good to have that.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't feel pressure. It's just things are happening naturally. Um,
Right.
so
Yeah, I feel like with that, like that's a great segue to talk about like the balancing act that as a single parent we get to start to learn. You know, as a single parent, you have your children as your priority 100%, and you're a person as well. You are a
right.
person who deserves to have a partner, deserves to be with your partner, and also deserves to take care of yourself with whatever that looks like, you know, whether it's
Hmm.
companionship or self care or, you know, what have you. And so balancing to make sure that your partner feels loved and respected and important and seen and all of those things while your
Right.
children still feels loved and supported and validated and cared for and protected, right? So, yeah, so you are, you know, about to embark on a journey that has been a balancing thing for me. And so, and I don't mean that negatively. I feel like that
No,
like it's really a learning thing. Like
it is.
yeah.
It's very true. It is. I will say that it is finding the right balance. Right. For me,
Mm-hmm.
like it has been. I wouldn't say it's been stressful, but it's a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's a okay, like you know, the time with the boys, the weekends, like I'm already limited on time with them for that, right? So it's
Yeah.
then about how do I still keep that time for them and still make
Mm-hmm.
time for this relationship while both of those filling me up. And um it is a challenge to keep that balanced and maintaining time for each while maintaining time for my own personal things that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's new. It's a new exercise. It's new experience. It's I don't know. For me, I think it's just kind of as it goes, I learn. Um,
Right.
and it's also something too that I've talked to with Julia. Like I've told her many times, um, like even when we are together, there's times when I want to work on something. I have a lot of
Yeah.
aspirations, and it's like, hey, I would really appreciate if I really want to work on something and just give me that space to be able to do that, even though we're together. Like I would just like
Mm-hmm.
to have that space. I want to be in your space, but just give me that
Yeah.
little bit of space,
Right.
and it'll be rewarded, right? And she is totally open to that, which is amazing also. But where I was, where was I going to go with that?
Balancing. You're talking about balancing.
Yeah, I was going somewhere with that. Oh, damn. I'm 37 now.
Mm.
Um,
Mm. Are you?
yeah. Uh,
I'll check in. I'll
am
check
I?
in.
Am I?
All right.
Let me
What
do the
what
math.
day what day is
Uh,
today? Who's
uh,
president right now?
oh my gosh. Um, I
Just
was
take it.
totally going somewhere with that. It was gonna be. It
Check
was
in
gonna be
your
good too. It was gonna be
so
like.
good.
It was gonna be
Mm.
profound. Um, no, it escaped me. Damn. All right,
Mm.
lost, gone forever, until
That's
we get
okay.
off of this call. Um,
Mm. And you'll be like, I know. So, okay, well, while you're thinking, why don't we talk
mhm.
about like what our plans are for what are you thinking about how to introduce the boys to Julia?
That's the conundrum, right? It's like I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
what's the way to do it. Obviously, the boys are aware.
Of
They
who she
know.
is.
They know
Yeah.
who she is. They
Yeah.
know I'm in a relationship. Um, and they have their own emotions that come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know what's the best route of doing that, other than something that you suggested was like whenever there's a family event or something like that, a family gathering or something, maybe she joins and you know, uh, maybe she joins and like it's just a um, where she's in the area, and if they're drawn to her, they can go talk to her, and if they're not, they're not, and maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
just a quick hi, like
Yeah.
and that's it. Also, maybe I mean, there's many different ways this can look, right? It could be something
Yeah.
simple as like, "Hey, would you like to say hi?"
Yeah.
Like over like just like a FaceTime call.
So,
Would you like to say hi? And if they say no, okay, cool. Like, you don't have to.
you know
Um,
what's funny? My bonus daughter did that. She saw that Eduardo was in my apartment and my feet were like on his stomach because I was like laying, we were like laying on the couch and her feet were like this.
uh-huh.
And so my feet were poking out and she was like, whose pink toenails are that? And I was like, and I was like, ah, and I like pulled my feet back and he was like, and he was like, my friends. And she was like, can I talk to her? And I was like, uh, yeah. And I was like, he was like, do you want to talk to her? And I was like, totally up to you. Like, if you're ready for
Yeah.
this, yeah, like that's it. But you know, my bonus daughter, you know how very forward she can be. And
Yes.
so yes,
Yes.
so I FaceTimed her and she was like, oh, she's like, so your dad's new friend? And I was like, yes. And she was like, I can't wait to meet you. And I was like, okay, okay.
So yeah,
Yeah,
so
so that's
that's an interesting place, right? So it could happen in very many different ways, and I don't
yeah,
know quite yet how it's going to happen. Um, I would like it to be low pressure for the boys.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I agree with
something
that. Yeah.
something that I did do recently was something that you had suggested to me of like, hey, maybe if something's going on with y'all, with like me and Julia, and
Mm-hmm.
the boys ask about something, then
Mm-hmm.
let them kind of initiate. And so
Yeah.
there was, so Julia, um, she was preaching at a church, and I wanted to listen to it. Me and the boys were having breakfast, and I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
listen to it, and hear her word like that she was preaching.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, it's for me like that kind of, it's good also too if the boys hear it too, even if they're probably not even paying attention. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I like it to be in the background because they have been very curious with Sebastian, especially with Jesus. Um,
Yes.
and so I'm like, I'm gonna have it in the background. I actually want to hear her words. I enjoy her sermons, and so Mani was like, what is it like? What are you? And it was like, oh, Julia's, pastor. And he had questions about it, and so
Yeah.
I answered the questions, and then like we moved on.
Yeah.
Um, but
Beautiful.
so that's something that I did do recently,
Awesome.
um, and for him, he was curious about it and answered. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
make it anything
Yeah.
more than just what it was.
Right. And
Um,
it wasn't driven by you. It was like they were curious and you answered their questions, and it was
right,
it was it was self-driven for themselves. Yeah.
right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that.
but yeah, that is the conundrum. Like, how does this happen? What
Balancing.
does it look like? When?
Yeah.
What is it going to be?
Right.
And for me, something that comes up for me is like, I do look forward to the day where like I can be on the phone with them or FaceTime with them, and then like feel like, oh, man, like I don't have to hide Julia or something, because that is how I feel a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times. It's like I need to hide her,
Mm.
like I need to like you know make her not present for them, and it's like
Mm.
that doesn't also feel good. You know what I mean? Um,
Are you
it just
open to
feels
are you open to feedback on that?
sure.
Yeah. So, like, and obviously this is just feedback, but um, I think that another way that you can look at it, because that's the meaning that you've created, that's the story that you've created, right? Of what was going on. But another perspective that you could look at it is that you're simply respecting the boys' boundaries of what they're ready for at this moment. And so you're not necessarily hiding her, you're just simply respecting where they are right now.
Hmm.
And I had suggested to you too, like, whatever your day includes, if the boys are asking about your day and there's a part of your day that includes Julia, just talk about your day with the inclusion of Julia.
Uh-huh.
And you're not hiding her because you're talking about your day, and that will allow some exposure of who Julia is, how she is tied or interweaved into your life.
Hmm.
And then, as that exposure continues to happen, their curiosity might get piqued to where, like, they might eventually be like, are you at Julia's right now? Like,
Hmm.
can we talk to her? Like, are we going to get to meet her? Like, that kind of thing. Or they can be like, oh, okay, I know something new about Julia. Like, they went top golfing together, and so now I know Julia likes to top golf. I'm just throwing that out there.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think the way you can look at it is I'm respecting the boundary of where my boys are at right now, and so I'm just meeting them where they are.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
so you don't have that icky feeling. Because for me, I don't think
Yeah.
what you're doing is icky. I feel like you're just meeting them where they're at right now while still being able to be with Julia. Because you can be with Julia. You're at Julia's house right now, right? And
Right.
so you get to still have your private conversation with the boys if you choose to do that, and still have your relationship with Julia. So there's a
Hmm.
way to have a both and there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the other thing that comes up for me is navigating that.
Yeah.
To where it feels like where I'm not like I need to like we need to like have our space like so that they're in like like everything's like okay for them. Um,
Right.
and I think probably more incorporation with just my days and with it incorporating Julia and with it'll kind of gently um, lead them to kind of realizing like okay, like this is kind of just where things are, and
Mm-hmm.
um, where I think probably my energy with that, right, is probably if I'm
Yeah.
giving the energy of I need to hide this from them, they're
Right.
probably going to feel that energy of like, oh, dad's hiding this from us, so like
Yeah.
then we
So
can't really
she,
talk about
so
this,
she, yeah.
like,
So
or we
she's like
can't really.
a hush conversation. Yeah. Yeah. I can say
Yeah.
that. That's kind of
Yeah.
how I kind of feel that way too, because you don't really talk about Julia unless I ask, you don't really talk about her. So yeah, I kind of that definitely, like, it might be the context that you're setting. Yeah.
It could be the context that I'm setting. So I mean, and I've not realized that until we just had this
Right.
conversation.
Yeah.
Um, and it's definitely not what I want to do. Um,
Right.
yeah, because yeah. Um, so that was good,
Good job.
interesting.
Nice breakthrough.
That was interesting. Okay, so now I get to
That'll
kind
be
of
a
see where
that'll be $150 for our session today.
that. I'll send it. Deposit that in my account.
You'll Zell that over. So,
Um,
anywho, but yeah, that's kind of how our conversations go. That's, the way that we have navigated our way through relationships. Junior has expressed his feelings. Things have come up for him that he's not okay with. That he's like, oh, I saw, Eduardo do this, and I really like that. And has also, I didn't like that. I wasn't okay with that, and so, and I have responded. I believe I've responded very openly, where I'm just like, you don't get to say whatever is happening in my house or anything like that. It's been like, oh yeah, like I hear what you're saying. I can understand what you're feeling, and I will have a conversation with Eduardo about it, or let's three of us have a conversation about it, right? Um, and so my hope is that that gets to be extended to Julia, if she's open. Yeah, let's see if she's open to that. I
mhm.
hope she does choose into that kind of relationship, because in my opinion it seems to have worked. And so, that's just me, right? But I hope this has been really helpful for you guys. I hope this is kind of gives you a deeper dive into what Junior and I get to continue to navigate through, continue to work on.
And a lot of times that is what happens in our conversations, just in
Yeah.
general. And you guys get to
Mm-hmm.
see kind of like how we communicate. A lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, hopefully it's something that is helpful, or and if anything, that you at least get to see the experience that two successful co-parents are having,
Mm-hmm.
and the challenges that still come with, you know, amicable co-parenting.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Dance party.
but dance part,
Ready?
dance,
Ready for a dance
dance,
party?
dance part.
Let's go. See y'all
Uh,
next time. Yes. Look, I can do this.
you're doing yoga.
I can move my head now. I can move my head.